Welcome to the 12 Days of Security. And number one on our topic is going to be a safe email culture. What does that mean? Well, have you ever just got an email that said, "This is funny, click the link"? You want to create a culture inside your organization where you've trained your people to say, look, all email must have context. And what I mean by that is, here's the attachment that we talked about from the meeting on Tuesday about ... Don't be in the habit of just sending files and clicking on links blatantly without knowing why that you're supposed to be getting that email. If you're getting it from, for example, an outside source, call them first before you open it or click the link. Don't trust them. A lot of times mailboxes that you may know get compromised and then they'll spew out a whole bunch of email, and a lot of times the way that you can catch it is either there's no context about why you're receiving that, or it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So if you build that culture inside your organization where every message that gets sent has that context on it, then it's a lot harder for you to be tricked. So stay tuned for number 2. And this is topic number 2. Number 2 is very talked about often, and that is don't open files or click links without knowing for sure that you're supposed to get it. It's very similar to what we talked about in day number 1, but this specifically talks about how you can just be more careful about attachments and files. What do I mean by that? Just don't click the link. A lot of times if you order things or you're expecting to receive them, you can go specifically to the website where you ordered or placed or whatever you're getting that message from and actually log into the website and find the content they sent to you via email. A perfect example of that is a tracking package or order from Amazon, or it might be an invoice. You get those from those different providers. A lot of times they just let you go to the specific websites to download those files or click the links. That's the preferred methodology if you can do that. If there is no other way around it, just make sure you have a good AV and that you can follow some other steps that we talk about proper checking of email before you open it. So look for number 3. And topic number 3 is going to be training. Make sure that you train your staff. I've said this multiple times. The best AV is between the keyboard and the chair, and that means that's you. So having your team trained on how to stop phishing, how to identify phishing, how to properly report phishing, how to do password policy management, basic accessing and sharing of your files, those types of things are very important to train your staff. Those are usually the people that are going to cause you the most trouble. It's kind of like, in those situations, if you don't have them trained, you're going to allow them the opportunity to make wrong choices. So at least twice a year, have training about those topics, and you'll be way ahead of the curve. All right, stay tuned for the next episode. Topic number 4 is going to be on locking your computer. That may sound like something that's just not really that important, but it really is, because if you get in the habit of locking your screen, if someone were to come by, they could have access to information that is sensitive. If you were to have your machine compromised, having it locked makes it much harder for them to just access information from the desktop. So things like that, having a good posture of locking your screen. Also, it also helps from animals walking across the screen or kids perhaps banging on the keyboard, and who knows what message might be sent in what format to whoever. That's never happened to me, wink, wink. So have a good policy and process for locking your machine. An example of that is Windows L. So if you get up from your computer and you hit Windows key L, it will automatically lock your screen. So stay tuned for the next one. Topic number 5 is don't let your kids use your computer. Or you could just say anyone in general. Kids are really the bane of keeping your computer safe. If you do banking or other types of work-related stuff, it's a terrible idea to casually let your kids use it for things to keep them entertained. Also, if you have, like in the holidays, guests or friends coming over, if you do banking or do work-related stuff on your computer, you don't want to let anyone use your machine. They may check their email and they click on a link because they weren't paying attention. Then your computer gets phished, and then your computer's compromised. They get in their car and drive off for the holidays, and now you have a computer that's compromised. So just be in the habit of making sure that you always keep your computer that you do sensitive information on always safe and secure and limited to just you. That's a good policy and process. Also, if you have kids that need access to a computer, it's the holidays. There's good discounts. You can get systems for very inexpensive. So that way you can keep your system isolated to just you. Hope you're enjoying these 12 days as I am, and we'll see you next time. And we're on day number 6. This one is a big one for me, and it's two-factor authentication. It's one of the key components to locking things down to helping keep you safe. A lot of people get nervous about two-factor authentication, but it has now become such a de facto standard that most organizations or organizations that you do business with already make two-factor setup extremely easy. So always make sure for your email or any banking sites or anything of that nature, turn on two-factor authentication. If you don't know how to do that, reach out to those respective vendors, and I'm sure they will happily help you set that up because it is a huge security help. It really helps keep things locked down to keep you safe and secure. So make sure you set up two-factor. Hope you're enjoying these 12 days, and we'll see you tomorrow. We're on topic number 7. And that is making sure that someone properly manages your AV and patching. A lot of times what people do is they pass this responsibility off to maybe the janitor or the controller, or the financial person, or someone else that's not very qualified to do that task. Let me ask you this. Would you buy your security from somebody that did it part-time, that monitored your windows and doors and all that type of stuff? No, you wouldn't do that. That would not be wise. But I see so many people offload that responsibility to someone in their organization who's just as busy as you are. So what does that mean? Outsource it to someone else, a managed service provider like us that can keep track of the patching and the AV and making sure that your systems are as safe as they possibly can be while you're operating. Now, there's a lot of other additional layers that should be monitored as well, but that is really the absolute bare minimum basic. So stay tuned for tomorrow. On topic number 8 is going to be password policies. Making sure that you have a good password policy is critical to your organization's safety. What do I mean by that? Making sure your password's complex, making sure your password has a length that's appropriate. Most organizations are wanting to go beyond 10. Some are saying 24. It's really crazy how long these password recommendations are starting to happen. And the main driver behind that is that computers are just getting so fast and capable of cracking passwords. It's just pushing it further along. Well, how do you address that? The answer is a password manager app like LastPass or something along that. If you have LastPass or some other application that helps manage your passwords, then you can set up passwords that are long, complex, and unique for every specific app, because you don't want to have the Lord of the Rings style password that is very long, that's one password to rule them all. Because if it's the same thing for those other vendors, then if that vendor gets compromised, you've now given them a skeleton key to access all other passwords for all other accounts, because they'll try your Ameris, they'll try your bank, they'll try your, Hilton, your 365, your G Suite. They'll, in a few seconds, when they crack a password for another vendor, they'll try it on a whole bunch of different ones, trying to hope they can gain access. So have a very good password policy, and you'll go a long ways to keep your organization safe. Number 9 is going to be on not using your work email for personal use. What do I mean by that? Don't sign up to Netflix using your work email or your Facebook or your LinkedIn or those types of things. If you use those work-related email addresses for those policies, for those processes, for those different systems, if they get compromised, then they know what your work address is, and they're going to come after it with a vengeance. A lot of times, those are the types of services that get phished and by whoever on that side of those organizations, and they get compromised and they get loads of data, and then they're going to take that email password, they're going to take that address, and they're going to come after you. And it happens all the time and not always disclosed. So make sure that you are not using your work-related email for things like Amazon or stuff like that, and you'll go a long way to cutting down on the amount of spam you're going to get, as well as the different things that you might be phished on. Number 10 seems silly, but it really is very, very common. Don't put your password on a sticky note. It is a terrible thing to do. If you're doing that, what that says is you don't have a good password policy. So you need to get a password manager, and that is where those things should be stored. So if you look around your desk right now and you see some of those either in a folder or on your desk, get a password manager, put them in there. They'll be much safer than they will be on your desk. So stay tuned for tomorrow when we're going to talk about admin privileges. And number 11's topic is one that's very important, and that is do not operate as an administrator. What do I mean by that? If you have full admin rights on your workstation, or even worse, if you have full admin permissions inside your 365 or G Suite or Azure or Amazon container, if those credentials are the same as those, and that's your normal walk around email address account, then if you were to be phished or compromised, you basically have given them the keys to the kingdom to do untold damage to your organization. So do not operate as a global admin on a daily basis. Don't let that be your walk around account. Make sure that you have a separate account for your daily use where you're just doing your day-to-day job. And if you have to do anything from an admin perspective, have a separate account that is either a separate name or has some type of name that's similar to yours, like admin underscore whatever. And then that will help you make sure that you separate your duties so that when you're doing those things on a periodic basis, that you're separating it so that you have a less risk from a compromise. And it's not a situation of trust. It's really about the level of access. I kind of compare it to having a tactical nuke as a backpack, and no one would ever walk through a school or a neighborhood or a mall with that on their back. But so many people have those full admin privileges and they're just walking around daily with them. They're super dangerous. Treat them with the proper respect and dignity they deserve. Have them completely separate from your normal account, and you'll be way better off. All right. Well, tune in for tomorrow, which is our last day. We look forward to seeing you then. And our topic is going to be on performing audits. What does that mean? There's lots of ways that you can take this, but what I'm referring to is just the absolute basic bare minimum audit. And that is look at your user accounts and look at your firewall. Make sure that you know what ports are open and where they're going. And is there a reason for it to exist? And is it being done safely? Also, check to make sure that you don't have any accounts that are in existence, either on your firewall, through your VPN, that have access to your email, any admin accounts that may exist in your organization that you're not sure if they should or they should be removed. Users maybe aren't in the organization any longer. Clean those things up at least twice a year. Clean them out. A lot of times, these older accounts are the ones that get compromised because they either have inappropriate permissions, bad passwords, things like that, and then they get compromised, and that's their end to then start spreading throughout your organization. I hope you enjoyed the 12 days of security like I have, and have a safe and happy New Year's and Christmas. God bless.